The developed economies preach about the need for a carbon tax, but they are the biggest hypocrites when it comes to implementing one. Hey guys, what's up? It's your channel Businessville. Make sure to show us some love by subscribing to our channel. Also, don't forget to hit that bell icon to stay updated whenever a new video is up on our channel. Carbon tax is all the rage these days. Every major economy is talking about how we need to do something about climate change and put a price on carbon. But there's a big problem with this approach. The countries that are preaching it the loudest have done nothing to actually implement a carbon tax. You're probably wondering what a carbon tax is. A carbon tax is a levy on the production or importation of greenhouse gases such as CO2. It's been implemented in many countries around the world, but most notably in Europe. The idea behind it is that those who produce more emissions should pay more. But as you'll see in this video, that's not always the case. Fighting global warming involves more than just putting all nations on a road to net zero carbon emissions. Along with that, it concerns how to simultaneously meet the population's energy needs. Countries in Africa and a sizable portion of Asia, including India, require another route to provide electricity to their people if fossil fuels are to be given up, as they must. If the poorer nations choose not to follow the richer nations' fossil fuel-based path, what options do they have? Who will foot the money for such a route, and how much will it cost? There are many such questions in our hearts. Producing fossil fuels domestically, several nations, including some developing nations, as well as financial organizations, have vowed to stop providing public funding for global fossil fuel projects. The same nations will be able to carry on domestically producing fossil fuels. While the UK is granting licenses for new oil and gas developments in the North Sea, the US has at least 24 fossil fuel projects in the works that could result in more than 1.6 gigatons of greenhouse gas emissions. The CGD study determined when a person of the UK or the US consumed more energy than someone residing in a low or middle-income nation by using World Bank data on per capita carbon emissions for each country. A total of 940 million people, mostly in sub-Saharan Africa, lack access to electricity. What do presidents of American countries have to say? Presidents of African nations, such as Lazarus Chakwera of Malawi and President Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria, have emphasized the importance of using natural gas to transition their nations to net zero by the year 2060. If 48 countries in Africa, excluding South Africa and a few North African countries, tripled their electricity consumption through the use of natural gas, the resulting carbon emissions would be less than 1% of the total global emissions, according to the Energy for Growth Hub, an international research network. Vijaya Ramachandran, Director for Energy and Development. A blanket ban on fossil fuel projects in developing nations. According to Vijaya Ramachandran, Director for Energy and Development at the Berkeley, California-based Breakthrough Institute, is colonial and will only serve to worsen poverty while doing little to cut global carbon emissions. She claimed that wealthy nations could easily forbid the financing of developing nations while simultaneously expanding their own reliance on fossil fuels. It's blatant dishonesty, and it has disastrous effects on developing nations because they require a variety of energy sources. It is well known that renewable energy is erratic and requires backup from other sources. It is extremely hypocritical and colonial to tell African nations they only need solar power. Rose M. Mutiso, Energy for Growth Hub's research director, Rose M. Mutiso, stated that the argument over who is to blame for the climate issue should be informed by the CGD research. Since high-emitting nations are logically where high emissions are concentrated, solving the climate crisis in the medium term falls on them as well as on the countries who produce the problem, according to Kenyan Mutiso. Basically, many claims made by wealthy country leaders in Glasgow conflict with their actual climate change strategies and other statements they have made. Therefore, as G7 leaders were busy approving and facilitating greater fossil fuel investment, which would increase production and greenhouse gas emissions over the medium term, they were also busy making lackluster green commitments for several decades in the future. The United Nations Climate Change Conference in Glasgow is already seen negatively by many people throughout the world. That greatly understates the case. Global leaders, particularly those in the wealthy world, continue to be unable to appreciate the seriousness of the climate crisis. The majority of them seek short-term national interests and make conveniently far-off net zero emissions pledges without making explicit and immediate commitments to act, although acknowledging its seriousness and urgency in their speeches. But is it really mature of them to do so? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. If you found this video to be insightful, do us a favor by hitting the like and share buttons. We will see you again in the next video. Until then, stay updated. Thanks for watching.